Welcome to my renovation on Iris Street. It is the 69th week and it was a pretty good week. I started off by running the final audio cables for the record player and the piano. I also relocated the thermostat because I want it to be by the stairs so that there's nothing over the piano. It's nice and clean over there. After that, I installed some blocking for my television over the fireplace. I want the mount to have lots of good 2x4s to bolt into. After I get that project knocked out, I take all my cabinets downstairs so that when the installation crew comes in, there's nothing in their way. I install one more Cat 8 line. That one goes from my server room out to the garage. And I end the week by taking out a wall downstairs that's not to code in preparations for getting the gym ready to hang up some drywall because I want the gym and the laundry room to be 100% done when the upstairs is done. Everything else downstairs will be phase 2. So without further ado, let's get going. The more the installation gets delayed, the more I keep adding in cables. Here you see me adding an audio cable from the stereo system to the piano, and I'm going to add another one of those to my office. I'm also going to add an HDMI from my office to the stereo. The whole idea is, hey, if I've got this great system in the living room, I should be able to have any of my devices to be able to connect to it. So that's what these final cords are for, and I think I'm finally done. I've been wanting to relocate my thermostat for 2 reasons. One, because the thermostat in the stairwell is more central between the upstairs and the downstairs, and I think is a temperature stable zone. It also gets it away from the piano area. I went ahead and ordered my TV wall mount before the drywall goes up so that I can make sure I have enough blocking behind it. These are actually designed to be bolted into 16-inch on-center studs, but I wanted a little bit more blocking behind my TV wall mount just for a super secure connection. So I'm cutting a bunch of little 14.5-inch blocks to go in between my studs, and I'm just getting them leveled, lined up, and screwed in there. This is probably overkill, but it's a really cheap addition, and I'm a big fan of over-engineering if possible. This afternoon, I'm moving all of my kitchen cabinets downstairs. I want them to be out of the way for when my spray foam company comes in and installs the insulation, but also, this will give me a good staging area downstairs for putting these cabinets and assembling them. I'll start with a small cabinet and kind of get that process honed in, and then slowly start building more cabinets as I have time. I've got a little bit of extra Cat 8 on this spool, so I hoped I would have enough to run one more line of it out to the garage from my server room in the basement. And it turns out I had just the perfect amount. I didn't really need a dedicated Ethernet line in the garage, but I kind of wanted to get this spool just out of the way, and who knows, maybe it actually will come in handy for something like a CNC machine one day. So I just ran the line out to the garage, the rest of it down to the server area, got all my cables organized through some of those holes I drilled a week ago, and there is about 10 extra feet of line on this run, but that's fine. I'll trim it to length when I install networking hardware. Because I installed all of these AV cables throughout the interior walls of my home, I needed to put some more spray foam in those new holes for fire blocking purposes. And so I'm just touching up any remaining lines, these Ethernet lines at the ceiling. I'll have to do them at the floor, and there were probably 20 holes all in all, so I'm just getting them filled up. This week, I am jumping around a little bit. You can see me toenailing this floating wall for the laundry room, and I should have done this before I put the wall up. I'll do it with future floating walls, but I was learning, and anyways, it's really sturdy now. I stood on that bottom plate. It's not going anywhere. I thought I might hang up drywall in the laundry room, but that's going to have to wait for another day. So for now, I'm just kind of getting things prepped. Little tasks like this nail in the floor that's been sticking out, ground it off, and in general, just getting ready for the drywall. I unbonded the hot and cold water because that system is pressure tested. Next up, I'm adding in that Cat 8 Ethernet line conduit in the garage, so I definitely need a box for that Ethernet, and I'm just getting it all set up. I figured this east wall makes the most sense because it's at the back of the garage, and if I were to ever put a computer, that's probably where I'd put it. And also, that was the shortest run for the Ethernet cable, so it makes practical sense on a couple of fronts. I bend this conduit 5 degrees on either section for that offset, put it into the gang box, and I am done. Last but not least this week, I'm taking out this final wall downstairs that's not to code. There's quite a bit of lumber here and quite a few bolts, so it's taken me a minute. I had to use the Sawzall a little bit for some of these. And as I go, I'm actually going to be taking these apart, taking all the nails out. That's something I picked up from my dad. His reasoning is so that you don't step in a nail, but it also does make it so that I can stack up this lumber and reuse it in other parts of the building project. So it takes a minute to take all these nails out, but it's definitely worth it. And now that I've got this wall out, it'll give me a pretty good staging and assembly area for my kitchen cabinets. You can see them all stacked up down here, and when I have some downtime in between tasks like drywalling, that's what I'm going to be working on over the next coming weeks.